The Red Dragon Dojo was alive with the sound of bodies colliding with mats, the rhythmic thump of gloves on pads, and the occasional shout of instructors barking corrections. Sweat clung to the air like a second skin. Mirrors lining the walls reflected a dozen fighters in various stages of training, some sparring, some drilling forms, some pacing and shaking out tension between rounds. Marcus Reed, the dojo's star and self-proclaimed king of the mats, was in the center of it all. A fifth-degree black belt with a lean, muscular frame and a reputation for turning training into a performance, he was everything a highlight reel fighter needed to be: fast, flashy, and full of himself. Again, he barked to his partner, throwing a spinning back kick so sharp it left a faint breeze in its wake. The students around him clapped. Someone muttered, "Man's a machine." Marcus grinned, soaking in the admiration. Then the door opened. Heads turned, some out of curiosity, others with irritation at the interruption. A woman stepped inside. She wasn't dressed like a fighter. Baggy black hoodie, faded gray joggers, sneakers that saw better days. Her skin gleamed a rich mahogany under the harsh fluorescent lights, and her hair was braided back in neat cornrows. She moved with quiet purpose, not the swagger of someone seeking attention, but the calm of someone who belonged anywhere she chose to be. Marcus's eyes locked on her. His grin widened. "Well, well," he called out, loud enough for the whole gym to hear. "What do we have here? Cardio class is down the street." A few students chuckled. The woman didn't flinch. She stepped further inside, her gaze sweeping the room. "I'm here to train," she said evenly. That got a few raised brows. Marcus arched one of his own. "Train?" he repeated, his tone dripping with amusement. "Sweetheart, this is a fight dojo, not Zumba." Someone near the back snickered. She didn't smile, didn't frown either, just unzipped her hoodie, revealing a plain black tank top beneath. A faint scar curled along her left shoulder, the kind you didn't get from an office job. Marcus clapped his hands dramatically. "All right then, why don't we give the lady a warm welcome? Let's spar. Friendly match. I promise I won't hit too hard." More laughter rippled through the crowd. Phones came out, a few students whispered bets. She pulled off her sneakers and stepped onto the mat. "Name's Amara," she said simply. "Marcus," he replied, bowing theatrically, "but you probably already know that." She didn't respond, just bowed slightly and took her stance. Feet shoulder width, hands loose, but ready. The assistant instructor glanced nervously at Marcus. "You sure about this?" Marcus winked. "Relax. I'll make it quick." The circle tightened. Cameras hovered. The air thickened. "Ready?" the assistant instructor called. "Ready," Marcus said with a grin. "Ready," Amara echoed softly. "Begin." Marcus came in fast, his long reach snapping out in a probing jab. It was more a test than a real strike, designed to see how this newbie would react. Amara didn't flinch. She shifted her head just enough for the punch to slip past her ear. "Oh." Marcus raised his eyebrows and threw a second jab, sharper this time. Again, she leaned out of the way like water flowing around a rock. The murmurs started. She dodged that. Lucky. Marcus frowned. He stepped in with a quick 1-2 combo, feinting low before aiming high. Amara sidestepped, pivoting on her heel, and his punch caught empty air. The grin faded. "Okay, no more games." He launched a high roundhouse, the kind that had knocked out seasoned fighters. Amara ducked beneath it and stepped in close. Her fingers brushed his chest. Barely a tap. "Point," she said calmly. The assistant instructor blinked. Amara scores?" The room went silent. Marcus's jaw tightened. Lucky shot. He reset his stance, his smile now at tight line. This time he came at her with a barrage, low kicks, sharp elbows, and a spinning back kick. His speed doubled. The air hissed around his strikes. But Amara didn't block. She didn't even raise her hands. She flowed, pivoted, slipped past each attack like she'd seen it all before. Then, as Marcus overcommitted on a spinning elbow, she stepped in and swept his supporting leg. He hit the mat with a heavy thud. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Nobody laughed now. Amara stepped back, her face unreadable. Match? The assistant instructor cleared his throat. Amara wins. Marcus sat up slowly, staring at her with wide eyes. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. "Amara Blake," she said, offering a hand to help him up. "Former national MMA champion. Retired early. Thought I'd drop by." A stunned silence gripped the gym. Then, as Marcus reluctantly took her hand, the first claps started. Scattered at first, then swelling into applause. The cameras kept rolling. And somewhere in the back of the crowd, a student whispered the words that would accompany the viral video within hours. She silenced the whole damn gym. The notification sound on Amara's phone had been going off all morning. She ignored it at first. She always did. The world had a way of buzzing without her, and she had no intention of letting it drag her back in. But by the time the seventh ping vibrated across the kitchen counter, she sighed and picked it up. The first thing she saw was a message from her cousin Mia. "Girl, you're all over Twitter." Amara frowned. She tapped a link. The video loaded instantly. Grainy footage from a smartphone shot the night before at Red Dragon Dojo. Marcus, cocky and grinning. Amara, calm and silent. The first dodge. The second. The sweep. The sound of Marcus's body hitting the mat was followed by an audible gasp from the crowd. A caption ran across the bottom of the screen. They thought she was a beginner. Then this happened. The view count ticked upward even as she watched it. 372,000, 379,000, 400,000. The comment section was a war zone. She moved like a ghost. Damn. Who is she? Someone said ex-MMA champ? Marcus got humbled, laugh out loud. Wait, Amara Blake? The Amara Blake? I thought she retired. Retired after the knee injury, right? Now she's making dudes look like fools. She needs to fight again. Book her versus Sofia Vega now. Amara locked the phone and set it down with a sigh. So much for staying invisible. It wasn't long before her inbox started filling up. A message from an old promoter. 2 emails from podcasters asking for interviews, and then one that made her pause. Subject: an opportunity you can't refuse. From Dante the Reaper Cruz. She hadn't seen that name in years. Dante Cruz, former MMA fighter turned promoter of the underground fight circuit. The man was as ruthless outside the ring as he had been inside it. The email was short, almost taunting. Saw the video. Impressive. Didn't think you still had it in you. The Crimson Fist tournament is coming up. Prize pool, $500K. Winner takes all. Your name's already being whispered. The fans would kill to see you back in action. Call me. She closed the email. Her hands trembled, though from anger or excitement she wasn't sure. The knock at her apartment door came an hour later. When she opened it, Marcus Reed stood on the threshold, still nursing a bruise on his pride and possibly his ribs. "You're a hard woman to track down," he said with a sheepish grin. Amara folded her arms. "What do you want?" "I came to apologize." He scratched the back of his neck. "I wasn't exactly respectful yesterday." "You weren't. But you taught me a lesson I needed, and maybe I've something you might be interested in." Amara raised an eyebrow. "I heard about the Crimson Fist tournament. I was going to enter, but after last night, maybe you should." "I'm not interested." "You should be. $500,000 on the line. Plus, you'd be fighting the best of the best. Sofia Vega, Damian Cole, even Revenant is rumored to show up." At the mention of Revenant, a chill ran down Amara's spine. "I'm done with that world," she said firmly. Marcus studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Fair enough. But if you change your mind..." He slipped a card into her hand. "I'd bet on you." As he turned to leave, Amara caught her reflection in the hallway mirror. Her face was calm. Too calm. But deep inside, something restless stirred. That night, she couldn't sleep. Memories came unbidden. Cheers echoing from packed arenas, her arm raised in victory, the roar of fans chanting her name. Then the other memories. The knee injury, the doctor's words, "You may never fight again." The betrayal that followed, her team abandoning her, the headlines screaming, "Fall of a champion." Amara sat up in bed, staring into the dark. She thought of the video, the comments calling for her return. She thought of Dante's email. She thought of Revenant. And she realized she wasn't angry. She was hungry. By morning, her decision was made. She scrolled through her contacts until she found one she hadn't called in years. Coach Ellis, retired. She hit call. "Amara?" The voice on the other end was gravelly, surprised. "Is that really you?" "I'm coming back, Coach. But if I do this, I need your help." There was a long silence. Then Ellis chuckled softly. "About damn time." The old gym smelled like dust, leather, and memories. Amara stood in the doorway, letting her eyes adjust to the dim light filtering through cracked windows. The heavy bags, scarred from years of abuse, swayed slightly in the still air. Faded posters of past champions lined the walls, their images yellowed and curling at the edges. This place had once been her sanctuary. Now it felt like a battleground. "You're late," a gruff voice called from the shadows. Coach Ellis emerged from the back, a towel draped over his shoulder. His hair was grayer than she remembered, his frame slightly stooped, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. "Good to see you too, Coach," Amara said. He stopped a few feet from her, looking her up and down. "You lost weight, and not the good kind. You've been out too long." "I know. You sure about this? Coming back ain't just bruises and sweat. It's press, politics, and vultures waiting for you to slip up." "I'm sure." Ellis grunted. "Then let's see what's left in that body of yours." The first hour nearly broke her. Amara's muscles screamed in protest as Ellis ran her through punishing drills, shadow boxing, footwork, bag work. Every mistake earned her a sharp correction barked across the gym. "Keep your guard up. Your left is sloppy. Don't plant your feet like a damn tree. Move. Stop breathing like you're dying. Control it." By the end, she was drenched in sweat, her hoodie discarded, and her tank top clinging to her like a second skin. Her legs trembled, but her eyes were steady. Ellis nodded slowly. "Good. You've still got something in there. Just gotta dig it out." When she got home that night, her phone was buzzing again. This time, it wasn't messages from Mia. It was news alerts. Former MMA star Amara Blake's gym video goes viral. Is she plotting a comeback? The silent strike. Demand Blake versus Vega for Crimson Fist. Old scandals resurface as Amara Blake's name trends. Her chest tightened as she scrolled. They weren't just talking about the video. They were digging into everything. The knee injury, the accusations of steroid use that had been proven false but left stains anyway. The very public breakup with her former trainer and boyfriend, Damian Cole, who had gone on to become a reigning champion. One article included a quote from him. Amara was talented, sure, but she was emotional, unstable. That's why she couldn't cut it at the top. She set the phone down, hands shaking. Not from fear, but from rage. 2 days later, as she slammed her gloves against the heavy bag under Ellis's watchful eye, she didn't notice the man who entered the gym until he spoke. "Well, well, The queen returns to her castle. Amara froze. Damian Cole leaned casually against the doorframe, his designer jacket pristine, sunglasses hiding eyes she knew all too well. Behind him stood two of his training partners, their arms folded like loyal soldiers. "Didn't think you'd actually crawl out from under your rock. But here you are, trying to claw your way back to relevance." "Get out," Ellis barked. Damian chuckled. "Relax, old man. I'm just paying my respects. After all, we might see each other in the Crimson Fist." Amara peeled off her gloves and stepped forward. "If we do, I'll end you." His grin widened. "That's the fire I remember, but you and I both know how this ends, Amara. You'll break again, just like last time." He turned to leave, but paused at the door. "Oh, and one more thing," he added over his shoulder. "Watch your back. Not everyone wants to see a fallen star rise again." The door shut with a hollow thud. Amara's fists clenched. Her knuckles were raw. Ellis laid a hand on her shoulder. "He's trying to get in your head. Don't let him." She nodded stiffly, but her heart was pounding for a different reason. She knew Damian wasn't just talking trash. In his world, threats weren't metaphors. That night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Amara made a silent vow. This wasn't just about redemption anymore. This was war.
The warehouse smelled of oil, blood, and adrenaline. It wasn't an official arena. There were no bright lights, no pristine octagons, no announcers hyping up sponsors. Instead, bare bulbs dangled from chains, flickering above a makeshift ring encircled by screaming fans. Some wore designer suits, others hoodies pulled low over their faces, but they all had one thing in common. They were here to see blood. Amara stood in the shadow of the entrance tunnel, her gloves already strapped tight. She could hear the crowd chanting her opponent's name. "Breaker! Breaker! Breaker!" Across the ring, a man built like a tank flexed his arms for the audience. Tattoos snaked down his thick neck, and his knuckles were already cracked and bleeding from warm-up hits against the wall. Breaker wasn't his real name, but the nickname was earned. He'd left 3 fighters hospitalized in last year's tournament. "You ready for this?" Coach Ellis asked beside her. Amara didn't answer immediately. She adjusted her mouthguard and took a slow breath. The noise, the heat, the stench, it all melted away until there was only the sound of her own heartbeat. "I'm ready," she said finally. "Remember your training. Keep moving. He's gonna come in wild, try to smother you. Use his aggression against him." She nodded. The announcer, a wiry man with a voice like gravel, stepped into the center of the ring. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special one for you tonight. In this corner, the undefeated terror of the underground, the man who leaves bones broken in his wake, Breaker." The crowd erupted. "And in the other corner," the announcer's tone turned mocking, "the newcomer, the comeback kid, Amara Blake." Boos rained down. Someone threw an empty beer can that clattered at her feet. "She's gonna get wrecked! Send her back to cardio class! First round KO incoming!" Amara stepped into the ring anyway, her face unreadable. The bell rang. Breaker came at her like a charging bull. His first swing, a wide haymaker, was meant to decapitate her. Amara ducked under it, pivoted, and sent a quick jab to his ribs. He barely flinched. "You hit like a girl," he sneered. She stayed silent, dancing out of reach. Breaker threw a low kick aimed at her knee. He checked it just in time, but pain radiated up her shin. He wasn't holding back. Another flurry followed, wild hooks and elbows. One grazed her temple, and the crowd howled. "Stay on your toes!" Ellis shouted from the sidelines. Amara forced herself to focus. She couldn't match his strength head-on. She had to make him miss. She had to make him tired. By the second round, sweat was dripping into her eyes. Her jaw ached from a glancing uppercut. But Breaker was breathing heavier now, his swings a little slower. She feinted left. He took the bait, lunging in with a looping punch. Amara slipped inside his guard and hammered a combination into his midsection. Jab, cross, hook. A sharp knee to the solar plexus made him grunt in pain. "Yes, that's it!" Ellis yelled. The crowd booed louder, but some voices shouted her name now. "Blake! Blake! Blake!" Then it happened. As they clinched near the ropes, Breaker whispered, "They told me to make you quit." Her eyes narrowed. He shoved his thumb into her eye socket, an illegal move even in this no-rules arena. Stars exploded in her vision. Blinded, she stumbled back. Breaker charged, tackling her to the mat. His fists rained down. 1, 2, 3. Blood spattered the canvas from her nose. The referee didn't stop it. Nobody would. This was the Crimson Fist. But Amara wasn't done. She twisted her hips, trapping Breaker's arm. Her legs snapped up around his neck in a tight triangle choke. The crowd gasped. Breaker struggled, his punches growing weaker as the choke cut off his air. He clawed at her thighs, but her grip was iron. Then his body went slack. Amara released him and rolled to her feet, chest heaving. The referee raised her hand. Winner, Amara Blake. The boos were louder now, but so were the cheers. She wiped the blood from her face and looked straight at the camera of a ringside fan streaming live. This is just the beginning. Back in the locker room, Ellis patched her up. "You did good, but you saw what they're willing to do. This isn't about fighting fair." "I know." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "That was cute. Enjoy the win. It's the last one you'll get." The signature at the bottom made her blood run cold. Revenant.
The pain came in waves. Amara sat on the edge of her bed, ice pack pressed against her ribs, the faint glow of her phone screen the only light in the room. The bruises from her fight with Breaker had bloomed across her body like violent flowers, purples, blues, and angry reds that throbbed with every breath. She replayed the moment in her mind over and over. The choke, the look on Breaker's face as consciousness slipped away, the roar of the crowd. And then the text. "That was cute. Enjoy the win. It's the last one you'll get." Revenant. The name alone was enough to make her jaw tighten. Revenant, the phantom of the underground circuit, a fighter whose brutality was whispered about in back alleys and locker rooms. No one knew his real name. No one had ever seen him lose. Her phone buzzed again. Mia's name flashed across the screen. "You good?" her cousin's voice asked the moment she picked up. "I'm fine," Amara said, though her ribs disagreed. "Fine? Girl, you're trending. Again." Amara sighed. #Silent Strike has over 2 million hits on TikTok. Clips of you choking that man out are everywhere. ESPN even ran a segment. "I didn't ask for this." "Doesn't matter. It's here. And you know what else is? Revenant's name is trending too." Amara closed her eyes. "It's not a fight. Not yet." Mia hesitated. "Amara, you really think you can take him?" There was no bravado in her answer, only steel. "I have to." 2 days later, Ellis's gym was filled with reporters. The first few had snuck in after the video of her fight went viral. Now they came in droves. Camera crews, bloggers, influencers hungry for clicks. "Amara, are you planning a full comeback? Do you have a message for Revenant? Some say your first fight was staged. Any comment?" Ellis shooed them away like flies, but they kept coming. Amara ignored the noise and focused on the heavy bag. Her fists slammed into the leather in sharp, controlled bursts. Left, right, left hook, step back, kick. Again, Ellis barked. She didn't stop until her knuckles burned. That night, she walked home alone. The streets were quiet, the air heavy with the scent of rain. Halfway to her apartment, she felt it, a presence. At first, it was just a prickling on the back of her neck, then soft footsteps, perfectly timed with hers. She stopped. The sound stopped too. Her hand instinctively went to her gym bag. She felt the comforting weight of her hand wraps inside, though they wouldn't help her hear. "Who's there?" she called. Silence. Then a low voice spoke from the shadows. "You walk like a fighter, confident, but your guard is down when you're not in the ring." Amara spun, eyes narrowing. A figure stepped into the light. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black hoodie that concealed most of his face. His presence was suffocating, like the air itself bent around him. "Revenant," Amara said flatly. He chuckled, a sound devoid of humor. "So you've heard of me. I sent the text. Just a courtesy, to let you know what's coming. You looked good on Breaker. But that was a test, a soft one. They wanted to see if you'd run. I'm still here. Not for long. Next time they won't ask me to test you. They'll ask me to break you." Amara's fists clenched. "You can try." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Revenant stepped back into the darkness. "Keep training, Blake. I want you at your best, so I can destroy you properly." When she got home, her phone buzzed again. A new headline flashed across the screen. "Amara Blake versus Revenant. Is this the fight to save Crimson Fist's soul?" She stared at her reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror. Her face was swollen, her lips split from the last fight, but her eyes burned with a fire that hadn't been there in years. She whispered to herself, "Let them come."
The sound of fists meeting leather echoed like gunshots in the empty gym. Amara's gloves blurred as she hammered the heavy bag, sweat flying off her brow with every strike. Her breath came in controlled bursts, short and sharp, as Coach Ellis paced behind her like a predator. Again. Harder. Her arms screamed in protest, but she didn't stop. "Your jab's still lazy. Tighten it up or Revenant will eat you alive." Her fists obeyed before her mind could register the command. Jab, cross, hook, pivot, low kick. Ellis slammed his hand against the bag to get her attention. "You think that's enough? This isn't about fitness anymore. You're stepping into war. Every man and woman in Crimson Fist wants your head." "I know," Amara panted. "Do you?" His voice dropped to a growl. "You're not fighting Breaker again. The next one won't just thumb your eye. They'll go for your knees, your throat, anything to put you down. Are you ready for that?" Her answer was a punch so hard the bag swung wildly on its chain. "I'm ready." Ellis smirked faintly. "We'll see." The next morning, she found her locker open. Her wraps were slashed, her gloves sliced through as if with a razor. There was a note, written in thick black marker on the inside of the locker door. "Quit now." Her fingers curled into palms, nails biting into her palms. She could almost hear Damien's smug voice in her head. "You really thought they'd let you waltz back in?" Marcus Reed was waiting for her on the mats, already geared up. "You look pissed," he said. "I am." "Good. You'll need that." Coach Ellis clapped his hands. "No drills today? You're sparring. Marcus, don't hold back. Amara, show me you belong here." The first round was a blur. Marcus came at her with speed she hadn't expected, his strikes crisp and calculated. She blocked most of them, but his hooks still rattled her guard, and a low kick nearly swept her off her feet. "Your footwork's too heavy," Ellis barked. "You move like you're dragging chains." Amara gritted her teeth and danced back, forcing Marcus to chase her. She jabbed and pivoted, found her rhythm. When he lunged, she slipped inside and drove a knee into his midsection. "Better," Ellis growled. "Again." By the third round, her lungs burned. Sweat dripped into her eyes and her arms felt like lead. Marcus feinted a right, then landed a sharp uppercut that sent her stumbling. "Stay down if you're tired," Marcus said, circling. Amara spat blood onto the mat and rose. Not a chance. This time she didn't retreat. She closed the distance, weaving through his strikes like water flowing around stone.
A right hook caught him on the jaw, snapping his head to the side. His grin widened. There she is. They went at it harder, an exchange of fists, elbows, knees, neither giving ground. When Ellis finally called it, both fighters were gasping, gloves hanging at their sides. "Not bad," Marcus said, pulling out his mouthguard. "But you're not ready for Revenant." Amara wiped sweat from her brow, her gaze steady. "Then I'll keep training." That night when she iced her bruises, her phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. "You should have stayed retired. Next time I won't just ruin your gear." Attached was a blurry photo of her walking home from the gym, taken from across the street. Amara's stomach nodded. She wasn't just fighting opponents in the ring anymore. There were shadows closing in on every side. But when she looked in the mirror, she didn't see fear. She saw resolve. "If they want a war," she whispered to her reflection, "they've got one."
The air in the arena was thicker tonight. If the first fight had been a test, this felt like a trap. Amara could hear the crowd roaring from the locker room. Their chants weren't for her this time. "Viper! Viper! Viper!" The name alone carried a reputation. Victor Viper Tran was a master of psychological warfare, known for his quick, slithering strikes and his brutal habit of targeting injuries. He had left a trail of broken fighters in his wake. His signature move, a chokehold modified to crush the windpipe, had earned him a permanent ban from sanctioned fights. Here, in the Crimson Fist, no such rules applied. Coach Ellis checked the tape on her hands for the third time. "Listen close," he said, voice low and urgent. "Viper's not just fast, he's dirty. He'll go for your knee, your eye, hell, he'd bite you if the ref looked the other way. Don't play his game. Stay outside, pick your shots, and if he tries to clinch, break it immediately." Amara nodded silently. "You good?" Ellis asked. "I'm fine," though her stomach churned with unease. The door creaked open and Marcus Reed slipped in. He didn't look her in the eye. "Bad news," he said grimly. "Someone leaked your training footage. Revenant's people. It's all over the dark fight boards. Viper's been studying you nonstop." Amara's jaw tightened. "How the hell did they get footage?" Ellis growled. Marcus hesitated, and that hesitation spoke louder than any words. Amara's eyes narrowed. "You?" "I didn't mean," Marcus started, but she was already on her feet. "You filmed my sparring sessions? It wasn't like that. I recorded from my own study, and somehow it got out." "Somehow?" Ellis stepped between them, his face like stone. "Get out, Marcus, now." Marcus opened his mouth as if to argue, but thought better of it. He slipped out without another word. "You can deal with him later," Ellis said. "Right now, you've got Viper waiting." Amara pulled her gloves tight, each tug fueled by betrayal and anger. "I'll deal with them all later," she muttered. "Every single one." The arena erupted as she stepped into the ring. Viper was already there, crouched low like his namesake, tongue flicking out between his lips in mockery. His lean, wiry frame was covered in tattoos, a coiled serpent curling around his neck. "You're a pretty little thing," he hissed loud enough for the crowd to hear. "I'll enjoy breaking you." Amara's stare was ice. The bell rang. Viper struck first, darting in with a lightning-fast jab aimed at her injured ribs. Amara blocked, but the impact sent a jolt of pain through her side. He grinned. "Found your weakness already." She danced back, refusing to be baited. Viper circled her like a predator, his movement sinuous and unsettling. He threw feints, low kicks, and sharp elbows, testing her defenses. When Amara tried to counter with a right hook, he slipped under and slammed a knee into her thigh. The crowd cheered. "Finish her, Viper!" By the second round, Amara was breathing hard. Her leg throbbed and her ribs felt like fire. Viper smirked as he closed in again. "You don't belong here. Go back to the kitchen." The taunt barely registered. Amara's world had narrowed to his movements, the twitch of his shoulders, the slight shift of weight in his feet. She waited for the overcommit. It came. A high kick meant to take her head off.
She ducked under, slipped inside his guard, and drove an elbow into his jaw. The crack was audible even over the roar of the crowd. Viper staggered, his grin wiped away. Amara didn't hesitate. She followed with a flurry, jab, cross, hook, spinning back kick to his midsection. The impact folded him over, and she caught his head in a guillotine choke as he tried to clinch. Viper thrashed like a caught animal, clawing at her arms, raking his nails across her shoulder hard enough to draw blood. She tightened her hold. His struggle slowed, then stopped. The ref hesitated before stepping in. Winner, Amara Blake. Back in the locker room, Ellis was silent as he cleaned the gash on her shoulder. You handled that well, he said finally. But they're coming harder next time. And now you know you can't trust anyone outside this room. Amara's phone vibrated on the bench. Another text from an unknown number. That was impressive. But you still don't see it, do you? Every fight is a trap. Revenant. She stared at the screen, jaw set. Let him set traps, she said quietly. I'll break them all.
The knock on the door came at 3 a.m. Amara woke instantly, her fighter's instincts kicking in. She slid from the bed, barefoot and silent, muscles tensed. The knock came again. 3 slow, deliberate raps. She checked her phone. No missed calls, no texts. Through the peephole, there was only darkness. Then a voice. You sleep light. That's good. You'll need it. Her breath caught. It was him. Revenant. Amara grabbed her bat from under the bed and yanked the door open. The hallway was empty. On the floor lay a single black envelope. She picked it up cautiously, tearing it open. Inside was a Polaroid photo of her walking home last night, headphones in, oblivious. On the back, scrawled in thick ink, "You're never alone." The next morning, the gym felt different. Coach Ellis noticed it too. "You're jumpy," he said as she worked the speed bag. "Something happen?" She didn't answer. The rhythmic smack of leather filled the silence. "If you need to talk, Blake, now's the time, before it eats you alive." She hesitated, then said, "He was outside my door last night." Ellis froze. "Revenant?" She nodded. "Damn it," Ellis muttered. "He's trying to break you before the fight. That's his game. He wants you rattled, distracted, doubting yourself." "It's working," she admitted. After training, she walked through the city with her hoodie pulled low. Every alley felt like it held eyes. Every footstep behind her made her heart pound. At a crosswalk, a car slowed beside her. The tinted window rolled down just enough for a voice to drift out. "Nice win last week. Shame it won't matter." She didn't turn. Didn't give him the satisfaction. The car roared off, tires squealing. That night, the nightmares returned. She was back in the cage, years ago, the night it all went wrong. Damien's face leering through the bars, her knee buckling under a dirty kick. The referee's eyes cold as she screamed in pain. "You were never good enough," Damien's voice said, merging with Revenant's, "and you never will be." She woke covered in sweat, her pillow damp with tears. The next day Marcus was waiting outside the gym. "Amara, wait." She kept walking. "Listen, I didn't mean to screw you over. I didn't know they'd use the footage like that." "You filmed me without my permission," she said flatly, "and you still think you're the victim?" "I'm trying to make it right. Let me help you with the semifinal prep. I know Viper's style, I can—" She stopped and turned on him. "Viper is done. I'm not worried about him anymore. The next fight isn't about a fighter. It's about surviving a monster." Marcus's face paled. "You really think you can survive Revenant?" "I don't plan to survive him. I plan to end him." In the gym, Ellis had set up a brutal circuit. Tire flips, sledgehammer swings, sandbag carries, endless rounds on the pads. "You want to beat Revenant? You don't just need strength. You need to be unbreakable." Her body screamed in protest. Blisters formed and tore open on her palms. Her legs shook with exhaustion. But she didn't stop. Not when Ellis shouted,
not when her vision blurred from sweat and pain. At the end of the day, Ellis handed her a bottle of water and nodded. That's it. That's the fire I need to see. Revenant plays mind games, but in the ring, he's flesh and blood. And flesh and blood breaks. Amara looked at her reflection in the gym mirror. The woman staring at her wasn't the same fighter that had walked away years ago. This woman was harder, colder, deadlier. At home, another envelope waited on her kitchen table. This time it wasn't a photo. It was a VHS tape. On it, scrawled in red ink, "Play me if you dare." Her hand hovered over the player, heart pounding. She pressed play. The screen flickered to life with grainy footage, her old fight against Damien. The moment her knee gave out, the moment she screamed, the moment her career ended. But over the audio, a voice whispered, "You break easy, Blake, just like last time." She ejected the tape and hurled it across the room. That night, as she wrapped her hands for another late training session, she spoke aloud to no one. "You're right, Revenant. I broke once, but this time, I'm the one who's going to shatter you."
The roar of the crowd was deafening. Amara stood in the center of the ring, staring across at her opponent, Gage the Butcher Callahan, a name whispered in back rooms with fear and awe. Unlike Breaker and Viper, Gage didn't fight for the sport. He fought to destroy. Every opponent he'd faced left the ring in pieces, ribs cracked, noses shattered, sometimes worse. Tonight, he wasn't here to win. He was here to break Amara. Coach Ellis's voice cut through the din as he adjusted her gloves one last time. "Stay smart, Amara. Gage doesn't play defense. He swings until something breaks, himself or the ring. Keep your distance. Pick him apart." Amara nodded, though her jaw tightened at the sight of Gage grinning across the mat. His teeth were stained, his nose crooked from a dozen past breaks. He slammed his fists together, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "She's gonna bleed," he growled, loud enough for the first few rows to hear. Amara's eyes hardened. "So are you." The bell rang. Gage charged like a bull, fists swinging in wild arcs. The first blow grazed Amara's temple, making her see stars. She ducked, pivoted, and countered with a sharp jab to his ribs. He barely flinched. "Come on, hit me," he roared, swinging again. Amara dodged another brutal hook, dancing out of reach. She knew better than to trade blows. His power was too much. One clean shot, and she was done. But Gage was relentless. He herded her into a corner with body shots, each one thudding into her guard like a sledgehammer. The crowd roared for blood. Meanwhile, backstage, Ellis paced furiously, phone pressed to his ear. "You're sure?" The voice on the other end, a contact from his old fight days, was grim. "They don't want her to make the finals. Revenant's people paid Callahan extra. He's not here to win. He's here to take her out, permanently." Ellis cursed under his breath. "What about outside the ring?" "Same. I've heard talk. After the fight, if she's still standing, there's a car waiting. No license plate. Men inside aren't fans." Ellis's grip on the phone tightened. "I swear if they touch her." "Ellis, you know how these people work. Keep her alive or get her out." In the ring, Amara's ribs screamed in pain as Gage's fists found their mark again and again. "You're tough, girl," Gage sneered, "but I'm tougher." Blood trickled from Amara's split lip. Her arms felt like lead. But as Gage reared back for another haymaker, she saw it. His pattern. He always loaded up his right hand. Left jab, left hook, then a massive right swing. She baited him. Took 2 glancing hits, then when his right hand came, she slipped under it. Her fist rocketed up into his jaw in a brutal uppercut. Gage staggered. Before he could recover, she unleashed a flurry. Body, head, body, head. The crowd surged to its feet. "Blake! Blake! Blake!" Gage roared and charged again, but this time his swings were sloppy, desperate. She sidestepped, landing a savage knee to his gut. He folded over, gasping. She didn't stop. Her elbow slammed into the back of his head, sending him crashing face first to the mat.
The referee hesitated, then stepped in. Winner, Amara Blake. The arena exploded. But Amara didn't celebrate. She stared down at Gage, watching his chest rise and fall, and realized he wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to end her. Ellis was at her side before she left the ring. Great fight, he said through gritted teeth. But listen to me, we don't go out the front. Revenant's people are waiting. Amara's eyes narrowed. They sent Gage to cripple you. Now they'll try another way. In the locker room, she barely had time to catch her breath before Ellis hustled her toward a side exit. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe. You can't go home. They slipped out into the alley. A black SUV idled at the curb nearby. Two men stepped out, faces hidden under caps. Miss Blake, we're here to escort you. Ellis stepped between them. She's not going anywhere with you. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. I wasn't asking. Amara's fists clenched. She didn't have gloves now, but that didn't matter. Try me, she said. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then a car horn blared, breaking the standoff. Mia's sedan screeched to a halt behind them. Get in, Mia shouted. Amara and Ellis sprinted for the car. The men lunged, but were too late. Mia hit the gas, tires squealing as they sped off into the night. In the back seat, Amara's phone buzzed. Another message from Revenant. You're slippery. I like that, but it won't save you in the ring. She stared out the window, jaw tight. I don't need saving, she whispered. I need him in front of me.
The safe house was little more than a crumbling warehouse on the city's edge. Steel beams overhead groaned with the weight of decades. The smell of oil and dust clung to the walls, but it was out of sight, and that was all they needed now. Amara sat cross-legged on the concrete floor, fists wrapped, breathing steady. Each inhale carried the weight of the past year, her return, her victories, her scars. Each exhale burned with the thought of Revenant's smirk. You're tense, Ellis said from across the room. He was pacing like a caged lion. No kidding, Amara muttered. You need to rest. This isn't just another fight. It's a war. Mia came in carrying takeout boxes. You two look like you're planning a heist, she said, forcing a grin. Food. Eat. You'll need it. Amara unwrapped a sandwich but didn't take a bite. Do you think I can beat him? She asked softly. Ellis stopped pacing. It's not about thinking anymore. It's about knowing. Revenant's bigger, faster, dirtier. But you've been through hell and came out swinging. That's the difference. Night fell like a shroud. Mia sat near the window, eyes scanning the street. Ellis dozed in a chair, shotgun within reach. And Mara couldn't sleep. The sound of her phone buzzing in her pocket jolted her. She checked the screen. No caller ID. Hesitation. Then she answered. Amara Blake? A voice drawled. It wasn't Revenant. It was Damien. You're a fool for thinking you can walk into that age with him. He'll kill you. Her grip on the phone tightened. What do you want? I want to save you from yourself. Come with me. Leave all this behind. Revenant's not your fight. You made him, she spat. You and your friends set this up. Silence for a beat. Then, fine. But don't say I didn't warn you when they carry your body out. The line went dead. In the early hours, Mia shook her awake. Someone's outside. Amara's blood ran cold. Through a crack in the warehouse door, headlights glowed. A black SUV idled in the darkness. They found us, Ellis growled, reaching for his shotgun. No, Amara said firmly. This ends tomorrow, not tonight. We stay hidden. But as they crouched in silence, Amara noticed Mia's hands trembling. Not with fear, but with guilt. Amara's eyes narrowed. You made a call earlier, she whispered. Mia froze. Who did you call, Mia? I didn't. Amara stood, her voice rising. Did you lead them here? Ellis looked between them, fury and disbelief warring on his face. Mia? He demanded. Tears welled in Mia's eyes. "I didn't mean for this to happen. They threatened my brother. I thought if I just told them where you were, they'd leave him alone." Amara's fists clenched so tight her nails bit her palms. "You betrayed me," she said, voice shaking. "I'm sorry," Mia whispered. The SUV outside pulled away suddenly, tire screeching. "They're not attacking," Ellis said. "They're letting her betrayal do the work. Classic Revenant mind games." Amara turned away from Mia. "You stay, but after this, we're done." The rest of the night passed in silence. When dawn broke, Amara stood at the window staring out at the city. Tomorrow night, it would be her and Revenant in the cage. No shadows, no mind games, just fists and blood. She flexed her bruised hands. "This ends with him on the floor," she murmured. Ellis nodded from the corner. "Damn right it does." But Mia's muffled sobs behind them lingered like a ghost in the room.
The Crimson Fist arena pulsed with energy like a living, breathing beast. Every seat was filled, the crowd a writhing mass of bodies baying for blood. Neon lights flashed across banners bearing Revenant's skeletal mask. The stench of sweat, alcohol, and adrenaline hung heavy in the air. Amara stood in the narrow tunnel leading to the cage, fists wrapped tight, breath controlled. Her heart thudded like a war drum. This was it. No more training, no more hiding. Tonight was kill or be killed. Coach Ellis placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Listen to me. He's going to come out fast. Try to overwhelm you early. Don't engage. Let him burn himself out. You've got more endurance. Use it." Amara nodded, eyes fixed on the steel door ahead. "You ready for this?" he asked. "I've been ready since the day I walked away." The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you have all been waiting for. The Crimson Fist Final. In the red corner, undefeated, undisputed, the predator of pain, Revenant." The crowd erupted as Revenant strode out. Dressed in all black, his skeletal mask gleaming under the lights, he moved with a predator's ease. The mask hid his face, but his presence was enough to make the air feel colder. He didn't wave to the crowd, didn't acknowledge their cheers. His focus was absolute. And in the blue corner, the comeback queen, the challenger with the iron will, Amara Blake. A mix of cheers and jeers filled the arena as Amara stepped out. She kept her gaze locked on Revenant. His mask tilted slightly, as if he was smiling beneath it. They met in the center of the cage. "You've impressed me, Blake, but this isn't a game for redemption. It's a game for survivors, and you don't survive me." Amara's lips barely moved. "We'll see." The bell rang. Revenant exploded forward, his first punch a vicious straight aimed at her jaw. Amara slipped to the side, countering with a sharp kick to his ribs. He absorbed it without flinching. Then came his barrage, hooks, elbows, knees, all delivered with surgical precision. Amara blocked most, but one elbow sliced her eyebrow open. Warm blood trickled down her face. The crowd howled. Revenant pressed her against the cage, one forearm grinding into her throat. "You can't win," he hissed. Amara drove her knee into his thigh, breaking his hold. She spun out, landing a solid right hook to his mask. It cracked slightly. For the first time, he staggered. The second round was worse. Revenant switched tactics, targeting her injured ribs from the gauge fight. Every punch sent shock waves of pain through her torso. But Amara refused to fall. She remembered Ellis's words, endurance. She let him swing, let him burn energy while she protected her core. When the bell rang, she limped to her corner, chest heaving. Ellis knelt beside her. "You're hurting him. I can see it in his stance. One more round. Dig deep." The third round began. Revenant came slower now, his strikes slightly less precise. Amara seized her chance. She ducked under a wild hook and drove her fist into his solar plexus. He grunted, and she followed with a brutal uppercut. The mask shattered. The crowd gasped as his face was revealed. A network of scars, dead eyes, and a cruel smile. "You've made me bleed. Now I'll break you for it." He tackled her to the ground, fists raining down. Amara twisted, barely managing to block. A punch slipped through, rattling her skull. She tasted iron. But in that moment, something shifted.
The fear, the doubt, they evaporated. All that remained was raw, unyielding fury. Amara roared and heaved him off. She rolled to her feet, launching a knee into his face as he rose. Bone crunched. Revenant staggered, blood streaming from his nose. She didn't give him time to recover. Left hook, right hook, spinning back fist. His knees buckled. With final primal scream, Amara drove her elbow down into the back of his neck, sending him crashing to the mat. The referee dove in. "It's over! Winner! Amara Blake!" The crowd erupted into chaos. Half screamed her name, half booed. Amara stood over Revenant's crumpled form, chest heaving, blood mixing with sweat on her skin. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive. Ellis rushed in, grabbing her shoulders. "You did it! Damn it, Amara, you did it!" But as they celebrated, Amara's eyes found the edge of the arena, where Damien stood in the shadows, phone pressed to his ear, the grim expression on his face. Something told me this wasn't over. Not yet.
The locker room was silent except for the hiss of the shower and the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Amara sat on the bench, knuckles swollen and wrapped, staring down at her reflection in a cracked mirror. Her face was a patchwork of bruises and cuts, but her eyes burned with a fire she hadn't seen since her first fight years ago. She had done it. She had beaten Revenant. But why didn't it feel like victory? Ellis entered quietly, carrying a manila envelope. His face was grim. "You need to see this." Amara took the envelope, flipping it open. Inside were photographs, grainy surveillance images of Revenant without his mask. Except he wasn't Revenant. He was Lieutenant Aaron Keller, a former Special Forces operative, dishonorably discharged, presumed dead in a Black Ops mission 5 years ago. Beneath the photos were pages of classified files, operations, names, connections. At the bottom of the stack was a logo, a coiled serpent encircling a fist. Amara's stomach knotted. "What is this?" she whispered. Ellis's jaw tightened. "It's bigger than Crimson Fist. Keller, Revenant, was part of a shadow organization. They call themselves the Coil. Arms dealing, human trafficking, underground fights like Crimson Fist, they fund it all." Mia entered, her eyes darting nervously. "Amara, you need to see the news." She turned on the small TV mounted in the corner. The anchor's voice was tense. "Breaking news. Following Amara Blake's controversial victory in the Crimson Fist tournament, an anonymous source has leaked evidence connecting the tournament's organizers to global criminal networks. Among those named is Aaron Keller, a former soldier believed dead, now exposed as the notorious fighter Revenant." Photos of Amara flashed on screen, then Keller's unmasked face, then the coiled serpent logo. Authorities are investigating, but experts warned the Coil has operatives embedded in law enforcement, politics, and the private sector. The screen cut to footage of protesters gathering outside the arena, some chanting Amara's name, others waving signs accusing her of being part of the conspiracy. Amara's chest tightened. "They're trying to pin this on me. First the fights, now the Coil. They'll bury me with Keller's crimes." Ellis shook his head. "No. You're the first person to beat one of their top assets. That makes you a threat." Mia spoke up, voice shaking. "We should go to the police." "No," Ellis said sharply. "The Coil owns too many of them. Going public's the only way." Amara stood, every muscle in her battered body aching. "They wanted to break me in the cage. They failed. Now they'll come for me out here." She looked at Ellis. "Then we hit them first." That night they went to a secure location Ellis had set up years ago, a basement gym under a closed-down bar. Amara stared at the map of the Coil's operations pinned to a wall. Shipping routes, black sites, names, faces. "This isn't my fight," she said quietly. "I just wanted to prove I could still stand." Ellis's eyes met hers. "Maybe not, but now it's the only fight left." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're next." Attached was a video clip. It showed Mia's brother tied to a chair, bloodied. Mia gasped, covering her mouth. "They have him," she whispered. Amara's hands tightened into fists. "They want me out in the open.
Fine, let's give them a show. The next day, Amara released a video online. Sitting in front of the camera, bruises visible, she spoke with quiet fury. My name is Amara Blake. I fought my way back from the edge for my son, for myself, for every fighter who's been used and discarded. Now I know the truth. The coil thinks they can use fear to control us, to control me. They're wrong. The video went viral in hours. Support poured in, but so did threats. That night, as Amara trained in the basement gym, Ellis approached with a grim look. "You sure about this?" he asked. "If we move against the coil, there's no going back." Amara threw a brutal punch at the heavy bag, sweat flying. "They came for my life, my family, my future. I won't let them take another inch." Ellis nodded. "Then we start with Keller's handler. Take him down, and the rest will follow." As Amara wrapped her hands tighter, she felt it. This wasn't about redemption anymore. This was war.
The rain came down in sheets, turning the streets into rivers of black water. Amara sat in the back of a stolen van, fists taped, hood pulled low over her bruised face. Next to her, Ellis loaded a shotgun, each metallic click punctuating the silence. "You sure you're up for this?" he asked, eyes never leaving the weapon. "After everything they've done?" Amara said, voice low but steady. "I'm sure." Mia sat in the front, hands gripping the wheel so tight her knuckles were white. Her brother's photo rested on the dashboard, a reminder of what was at stake. "They're keeping him in a warehouse near the docks. It's a local hub for the coil. Light security outside, but inside," he shook his head. "Expect a fight." "Good," Amara replied. "I'm in the mood for one." The van screeched to a halt a block from the target. Amara slipped out first, her boots splashing in the puddles. She scanned the area, shipping containers stacked like tombstones, cranes looming overhead like skeletal giants. Ellis joined her, shotgun in hand. "Let's make this quick." They crept through the shadows until the warehouse came into view. 2 guards stood at the entrance, rifles slung lazily over their shoulders. Amara didn't hesitate. She darted forward, silent as a wraith. One guard barely had time to register her before her elbow smashed into his temple, dropping him cold. The second guard raised his rifle, but Ellis's shotgun boomed. The man crumpled. "Clear," Ellis whispered. Inside, the air was thick with oil and sweat. Dim lights flickered overhead. Crates lined the walls, some stamped with military logos, others marked with the serpent fist emblem of the coil. Amara moved like a predator, every sense heightened. "Cell blocks in the back. Stay sharp." They rounded a corner and walked straight into an ambush. 3 men stepped out of the shadows, armed with knives and batons. The first lunged at Amara. She sidestepped, grabbing his arm and snapping his elbow backward with a sickening crack. He screamed as he fell. The second swung a baton at her head. She ducked, driving her fist into his gut, then finishing with a spinning back fist that sent him sprawling. Ellis handled the third with brutal efficiency, slamming his shotgun stock into the man's face. They reached the cell block. Mia's brother Ryan sat tied to a chair in the center of a small room. His face was battered, one eye swollen shut. "Ryan!" Mia cried, rushing to him. Amara scanned the room, unease prickling her skin. "Too easy," she murmured. Then she heard it, the metallic click of a gun behind her. "Drop it." Amara froze. Mia stood in the doorway, a pistol in her shaking hands, aimed directly at Amara. "Mia, what the hell are you doing?" Ellis growled. Tears streamed down Mia's face. "They have my brother, Amara. The real one. This is just bait. I had no choice." Amara's jaw clenched. "You sold us out. Again." "I didn't want to," Mia sobbed. "But if I didn't, they said they'd kill him." Ellis cursed, raising his hand slowly. "Mia, think about what you're doing. You pull that trigger and you're as good as dead. They won't let you live either." Mia's grip faltered. That's when the loudspeakers crackled to life. "Well, well, Amara Blake, you never fail to entertain." The voice echoed through the warehouse, deep and unnervingly calm. "You've made quite a mess of my little operation." But all games must end. "Who the hell are you?" Amara shouted. A soft chuckle. "Call me Serpent. Everyone else does." On a nearby monitor, a masked figure appeared. Black tactical gear, a serpent coiling around his shoulder. "You've been a thorn in my side, but I admire your tenacity. Unfortunately, I can't allow you to continue." On screen, a live feed showed a different location, a room where Ryan was tied to a chair, a masked coil operative standing behind him with a knife at his throat. "You have a choice, Miss Blake. Walk away now and watch your friend's brother die, or stay and fight, and all of you die here tonight." Amara's fists tightened. "You're bluffing." Serpent tilted his head. "Try me." Suddenly, gunfire erupted outside. Ellis grabbed Amara's arm. "We're out of time. We need to move now." Amara looked at Mia. The woman was trembling, gun wavering. "Drop it, Mia. Help us finish this, or live with the blood on your hands." Mia's sobs racked her body. Finally, she lowered the gun. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Amara turned back to the monitor. "I'm coming for you, Serpent, and when I get there, I'm tearing your whole damn network apart." Serpent's laugh was low and cold. "I'll be waiting." The monitor went black. Ellis loaded his last shells. "They're surrounding the building. If we're getting out, it's through fire." Amara rolled her shoulders, ignoring the ache in her bruised ribs. "Then let's burn it down on our way out."
The first explosion rocked the warehouse like an earthquake, rattling steel beams and sending dust raining from the rafters. Amara braced against the shockwave, coughing as smoke filled her lungs. Sparks erupted overhead as loose wires sizzled and fell. "They're collapsing the building!" Ellis shouted over the roar of flames. "We have minutes, maybe less." Amara grabbed Mia by the arm. "We're not dying here. Move!" They darted into the corridor, feet pounding against cracked concrete. The heat was suffocating, flames licking at wooden crates stacked high on either side. As they neared the main hall, figures emerged through the smoke, tall, lean silhouettes in black tactical gear. Serpents, assassins. There were 6 of them, faces hidden by serpent-emblazoned masks, rifles raised with laser sights cutting through the haze. "Down!" Ellis yelled, diving behind a crate as gunfire erupted. Bullets shredded the walls, sparks flying as lead tore into steel. Amara rolled behind a pillar, her breathing ragged. She could feel the burn of adrenaline surging through her battered muscles. Ellis fired back with his shotgun, forcing 2 assassins to scatter. "We can't stay pinned," Amara growled. "Cover me!" "Are you insane?" Mia cried. But Amara was already moving. She sprinted low, weaving between crates as bullets whizzed past. A laser sight caught her shoulder, but she rolled under it, coming up behind the nearest assassin. Her fist connected with his ribs, the impact making him grunt. She followed with a brutal elbow to his jaw, cracking his mask. He dropped his rifle as she wrenched it from his hands, swinging the butt into his skull. He collapsed in a heap. Ellis took advantage of the distraction, picking off a second assassin with a clean shot to the chest. Mia crouched low, grabbing the fallen man's sidearm. Her hands trembled, but her aim was steady as she fired twice at another advancing figure. The assassin stumbled back, clutching his thigh. Amara darted forward, slamming the rifle butt into his head before he could recover. The remaining 3 assassins regrouped, moving with eerie coordination. One hurled a flashbang. "Cover your eyes!" Ellis roared. The flash was blinding, even through clenched lids. The ringing in Amara's ears nearly drowned out the sound of boots charging. She reacted on instinct, ducking low as a blade sliced through the air where her throat had been seconds earlier. She caught the assassin's wrist, twisting hard until the knife clattered to the floor. A savage knee to his gut doubled him over. But before she could finish him, the last 2 attackers flanked her.
One caught her across the face with the butt of his rifle, sending her sprawling. The other raised his weapon to fire. A deafening blast from Ellis's shotgun turned the man into a rag doll. "Up, Blake, up!" Ellis bellowed. Amara spat blood and rose, just in time to catch the final assassin with a vicious uppercut that snapped his head back. She followed with a knee to his face, shattering his mask and sending him crumpling to the floor. The main hall was ablaze now, support beams groaning under the weight of the collapsing roof. "This way," Ellis pointed to a side door. They sprinted for it, flames licking at their heels. As they burst into the night air, they were met with a shocking sight. Across the dockyard, a convoy of black SUVs idled, headlights glaring like eyes in the dark. And standing atop one of them was Serpent himself. Dressed in black tactical gear, his serpent-shouldered insignia gleaming in the firelight, he watched them with a calmness that chilled Amara's blood. "Well done," his voice echoed from a speaker, "but you're not free yet." He raised a gloved hand. From the SUVs, more assassins poured forth, twice as many as before. Amara's breath came in sharp gasps. Her body ached, her vision swam, but she tightened her fists. "We can't take them all," Ellis said grimly. "I don't care," Amara growled. "We fight." Then a new voice crackled over their earpieces, Mia's phone, still connected to the coil network. "Amara," it was Ryan, Mia's brother. His voice was weak. They wired this place to blow. You have 60 seconds to clear the dock." Amara's stomach dropped. Serpent spoke again, calm and cold. "You can run and live another day, or stay and save your friend, but you cannot do both." Amara's mind raced. If they ran now, they might escape the blast, but Ryan, if he was still alive, would die. "Mia," Amara said, her voice tight, "we have to move." "No!" Mia screamed, tears streaming. "We can't leave him." "Blake," Ellis barked, "we have to go, now." Amara looked between them. The assassins were closing in. The warehouse behind them burned like a beacon. And the timer was ticking. 50 seconds. "Make a choice, Amara." Serpent's voice coiled like a snake around her mind. "Be the hero and die, or be the survivor and live with it." Amara's fists trembled. For the first time, she felt the weight of her own legend pressing down on her. Could she save Ryan and still take down the coil? Or would her choice tonight be the beginning of her end? 45 seconds. The countdown echoed in Amara's mind like the tolling of a funeral bell. Flames roared behind her, licking at the sky as if the whole world was burning. Ahead, a swarm of black-clad assassins moved across the docks, rifles gleaming under the harsh glow of headlights. And beyond them, Serpent stood like a shadow given flesh. Amara's chest heaved as she stared at Mia's tear-streaked face. "We can't leave him," Mia cried, gripping Amara's arm like a lifeline. Ellis's voice was sharp, urgent. "Blake, if we stay, we all die. Ryan's already gone." Amara's fists clenched. "No, not yet." She shoved the rifle she'd taken from an assassin into Ellis's hands. "Cover us. I'm going back in." Ellis cursed under his breath. "You're insane." "Probably," Amara said, "but I'm not leaving him to burn." Mia's eyes widened. "You mean it?" Amara nodded. "Go," Ellis barked, "but make it fast." 30 seconds. Amara and Mia sprinted back toward the warehouse, dodging falling debris and bursts of flame. The heat was unbearable, each breath searing her lungs. They reached the back hall, where Ryan was chained to a steel post, his face bloodied but alive. "Ryan!" Mia screamed, rushing to him. "Ryan, you shouldn't have come back." Amara ignored him, yanking at the chains. "Where's the release?" "Keypad, left wall." Amara found it, a keypad with a blinking red light. She punched in the code Mia had pulled from Serpent's files earlier. The light turned green. The chains released. 20 seconds. Get him up, Amara ordered. Mia pulled Ryan's arm over her shoulders. Together, they stumbled toward the exit. But the moment they emerged, they found themselves surrounded. A full squad of Serpent's assassins stood between them and the dockyard. At their head was a woman clad in black armor, a serpent tattoo curling around her neck. "You're not going anywhere," she hissed, drawing twin blades. Amara stepped forward. "Get them out, Mia. I'll hold them off." "No, you can't." "Go," Amara roared. Mia hesitated, then tightened her grip on Ryan and began dragging him toward safety. 15 seconds. The assassins charged. Amara met them head-on. Her first punch crushed a mask, sending its wearer sprawling. She snatched his rifle, swinging it like a club to smash another's skull. A blade sliced across her arm. She ignored the pain, elbowing her attacker in the throat. She was a whirlwind of fists, knees, and fury. 10 seconds. Ellis's voice crackled over the earpiece. "Blake, you've got to move now." Amara kicked one assassin into the others, creating a gap. She bolted through it, lungs burning, legs screaming in protest. 5 seconds. The warehouse behind her began to groan, a deep, bone-rattling sound as its supports buckled. "Jump!" Ellis shouted. Amara dove forward, just as the world behind her erupted. The blast sent her flying. Heat seared her back as she tumbled across the asphalt. She slammed into a shipping container, the impact rattling her teeth. When she lifted her head, the warehouse was gone, a smoldering crater where it had stood. Somehow, she was still alive, but so was Serpent. He strode toward her through the flames, flanked by his remaining assassins. "You're impressive, Miss Blake," he said, voice like silk. "Few survive the coil's wrath this long." Amara forced herself to her feet, fists trembling. "This ends tonight," she spat. Serpent's mask tilted slightly. "Yes, it does." He signaled his assassins. Ellis and Mia opened fire from behind a stack of crates, cutting down 2 of Serpent's men. Amara charged, catching one assassin with a flying knee that sent him crashing to the ground. She grabbed his blade, spinning to parry a strike aimed at her neck. Steel clashed against steel as she dueled the armored woman from earlier. The assassin was fast, her twin blades a blur. But Amara was faster. With a scream, she disarmed the woman and drove the knife into her chest. Now only Serpent remained. He removed his mask, revealing a face scarred but calm, eyes cold and calculating. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long, Blake. And you have been a poison in mine," Amara said. Their fight was brutal. Serpent struck with precision, his fists like hammers, his kicks like whips. Amara absorbed each blow, countering with raw power and desperation. Blood ran down her face, her ribs screamed in agony. But she kept moving. Finally, she caught him with a spinning back fist that cracked his jaw. Serpent staggered. Amara followed with a flurry of strikes. Left hook, right cross, knee to the gut. Serpent fell to his knees. She grabbed his collar, dragging him close. "This is for every life you've destroyed." With a final roar, she drove her elbow into his temple. Serpent collapsed, motionless. Amara stood over him, chest heaving. The docks were littered with bodies, the air thick with smoke and ash. Ellis limped toward her, bleeding from a graze on his arm. "You did it!" But Amara didn't feel victorious. Mia knelt beside Ryan, who was unconscious but breathing. "We need to get out before reinforcements arrive," Ellis said. Amara nodded, her eyes still on Serpent's lifeless form. "This isn't over," she whispered. And in her gut, she knew she was right. Somewhere, in the shadows, the true head was still watching. The air in the safe house was thick with the metallic scent of blood and antiseptic. Amara sat slumped on the edge of a cot, her bruised knuckles resting on her knees. Her body screamed with pain, ribs cracked, skin stitched and bandaged, but her eyes burned with unrelenting fire. Ellis was pacing, phone pressed to his ear. Mia sat in a corner, holding Ryan's hand as he drifted in and out of consciousness. The TV on the wall blared with urgent news coverage. Breaking: Aaron Keller, alias Serpent and alleged leader of the underground criminal network known as the Coil, was killed in a dockside battle with vigilante fighter Amara Blake. Authorities are scrambling to contain the fallout as protests erupt across multiple cities. Supporters hail Blake as a hero, while critics accuse her of vigilantism and escalating violence. Amara's jaw clenched as she watched grainy footage of herself dragging Mia and Ryan from the burning warehouse. The anchor's voice cut deeper with every word. Sources suggest remnants of the Coil remain active, and unconfirmed reports claim Keller may not have been the true leader of the organization. Speculation grows about the identity of the individual known only as Ouroboros, the alleged mastermind behind the Coil's operations. Ellis ended his call with a heavy sigh. "Bad news," he said. "The Coil's not finished. Whoever's pulling the strings, they're still out there, and now they know you're coming for them." Amara leaned back, staring at the cracked ceiling. "They're already coming for me. I can feel it." Mia's voice was barely a whisper. "What if we just stop, disappear?" Amara shook her head. "They won't let us disappear. The Coil doesn't leave loose ends. They'll keep killing, keep trafficking, keep controlling governments and corporations. I've seen enough to know this doesn't end unless someone cuts the head off the snake." Ellis knelt in front of her. "Then we find Ouroboros. But if Keller was this dangerous, imagine what kind of monster sits at the top." Amara's eyes narrowed. "Then we hunt the monster." A knock at the door froze them all. Ellis grabbed his pistol, motioning Mia and Ryan to stay down. He crept to the door, peeking through the peephole. A woman stood outside, tall and elegant in a sharp black suit. Her hair was silver, tied in a severe bun. She held up a badge. "FBI," she said. "Agent Yara Denton. We need to talk." Against Ellis's better judgment, they let her in. Denton's eyes swept the room, lingering on Amara. "You've caused quite a mess," she said. "Half the country thinks you're a hero. The other half wants you in prison." "Why are you here?" Amara asked, her voice flat. "Because you've drawn blood from a very dangerous beast," Denton replied, "and it's about to bite back." She dropped a file on the table. Amara opened it to find photographs, politicians, CEOs, generals, all connected by one symbol, the serpent coiled around a crown. "The Coil isn't a gang or a cartel," Denton said. "It's an ideology, a network of power brokers who believe the strong should rule and the weak should serve. Keller was just their attack dog. The real leader, Ouroboros, is untouchable. He's embedded in governments, militaries, corporations." Ellis scowled. "So what? You're saying this is hopeless?" "Not hopeless," Denton said, "but the game has changed. If you want to finish this, you'll need allies, and you'll need to move fast." Amara's fingers tightened on the photos. "Who is he? Ouroboros?" Denton hesitated, then slid over a single image. Amara felt the air leave her lungs. It was a face she knew, a face she trusted. Senator Victor Hale, the man who'd once mentored her in her youth, who'd funded rehabilitation programs for veterans like her. And now the head of the Coil. "He's the one pulling the strings," Denton said, "and he's already declared you a national security threat. His influence means he can label you a terrorist, freeze your assets, and send every agency after you." Amara's mind reeled. Victor Hale, the man who'd given her a second chance after the military, the man who'd smiled at her like a father. It was all a lie. "Where is he?" Amara asked, her voice low, dangerous. Denton met her gaze. "Washington. But getting to him won't be easy. He's guarded by private security, government protection, and a loyal circle of operatives." Amara stood, her battered frame radiating determination. "Then I'll tear through every one of them." Ellis put a hand on her shoulder. "You're not doing this alone." Mia nodded, her eyes fierce despite her fear. "Neither am I." Denton's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her face pale. "They've found this safe house. You need to leave, now." Outside, the sound of approaching choppers filled the air. Amara grabbed her jacket, her hands still shaking, but her mind clear. "They want a war," she said. "We'll give them one." As they fled into the night, Amara felt the weight of the coming storm settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a fight for everyone the coil had crushed under its boot. And this time, she wasn't stopping until she cut the snake's head off. The night sky over Washington was thick with storm clouds, thunder rumbling like the drums of war. Rain streaked down the black SUVs as they sped along deserted streets, lights off to avoid detection. Inside the lead vehicle, Amara sat rigid, dressed in tactical black with her hair pulled tight. The bruises from her last battle were still raw, but her eyes burned with resolve. Ellis checked his weapon beside her, jaw tight. Mia loaded magazines in silence, her hands steady despite the tremor in her breath. Across from them, Agent Denton spoke into a secure comms device, her voice low and clipped. "The building's on lockdown, private security, ex-military, and NSA-level surveillance. This isn't a smash and grab. We'll need precision." Amara's gaze never wavered from the window. "Precision's not what I'm here for." Denton met her eyes. "Victor Hale is the most powerful man in America right now. Take him out and the entire coil structure collapses. But this won't be clean. Are you ready for that?" Amara's lips curled into a grim smile. "Born ready." They reached the outskirts of Hale's estate, a sprawling fortress nestled within the woods outside the city, surrounded by electric fences and roving patrols. The team disembarked, slipping into the trees under cover of darkness. Denton tapped her earpiece. Eyes up, drones inbound, thermal signatures everywhere. Amara scanned the tree line, her body coiled like a spring. "Then let's move before they know we're here." The first guard never saw her coming. Amara's knife slipped between his ribs like a whisper. She lowered his body silently into the mud as Ellis dragged the man's rifle away. Mia hacked the security gate with a portable device Denton provided, the locks clicking open in seconds. "Go," Denton ordered. They slipped inside. Inside the mansion, it was eerily quiet. Marble floors gleamed under dim lights. Oil paintings of American heroes lined the walls, but beneath each canvas was the subtle motif of a coiled serpent. "They built this place as a shrine," Ellis muttered. Amara moved ahead, each step silent. "Then we'll make it their tomb." They split at the grand staircase, Ellis and Mia sweeping the east wing to disable security systems, while Amara and Denton pushed toward Hale's private office. As Amara reached the top landing, movement flashed in her peripheral vision. "Down," Denton hissed. Gunfire erupted, bullets chewing into the banister as black-clad guards emerged from hidden doors. Amara rolled into cover, returning fire with ruthless precision. One guard dropped, then another. Denton flanked right, putting 2 rounds into a man's chest before he could aim. The shooting stopped as abruptly as it began. "Clear," Denton said. Amara didn't wait. She kicked open the double doors to Hale's office. And there he was. Victor Hale stood at the window, hands clasped behind his back, as calm as if he'd been expecting her all along. "Amara Blake," he said, without turning, "you've made quite the mess of my plans." "Turn around," Amara ordered, her gun trained on him. Hale pivoted slowly, his expression one of mild amusement. "You, of all people, should understand, Amara. The world needs order. It needs someone strong enough to make the hard choices. That's what the coil does. That's what I do. You traffic people. You assassinate leaders. You destroy lives." Hale's smile didn't waver. "All for the greater good. You're proof it works. I built you, molded you, gave you purpose when the military discarded you like garbage." "You used me," Amara growled. and you became stronger for it." Suddenly, alarms blared. Ellis's voice cracked over comms. "Amara, we're blown, dozens inbound." Hale's smile widened. "You're too late, Blake. Even if you kill me, the coil will survive. It always does." "Not this time." Amara pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through Hale's chest, sending him sprawling across his mahogany desk. But there was no time to savor the victory. The mansion shook as armored vehicles roared onto the grounds. Helicopter blades thundered overhead. "They're here," Denton warned. "We need to exfil, now." Amara grabbed Hale's computer hard drive and turned to run. But as they reached the stairs, a massive explosion ripped through the east wing. "Ellis, Mia," Amara screamed into her comms. Static answered. They barreled through the smoke-filled halls, gunning down coil operatives left and right. At the south exit, Ellis stumbled out of the rubble, blood streaming from a gash on his temple. He carried Mia in his arms, her body limp, her chest barely rising. "No," Amara whispered, running to them. Ellis fell to his knees. She saved me, took the blast." Amara's hands trembled as she checked Mia's pulse. "Faint. She's alive," Amara said, "but we need to move." Outside, the estate was a war zone. Black SUVs and soldiers swarmed the grounds. Drones circled like vultures. Amara and Ellis fought their way to the tree line, Denton covering them with precise headshots. A helicopter hovered above, a coiled commander shouting orders through a megaphone. "Blake, surrender now and your friends live." Amara's teeth clenched. They're lying. As they broke into the woods, an RPG streaked past and detonated behind them. The shockwave threw them to the ground. Amara rolled, clutching Mia to her chest. She could feel the woman's faint heartbeat against her arm. Ellis grabbed her hand, dragging her up. "Keep moving, we're almost there." At the extraction point, a black chopper with FBI markings descended. Denton waved them forward. "Go, I'll hold them off," she shouted. "You're coming too," Amara barked. But Denton shook her head, firing into the trees as coil operatives closed in. "Finish this. End them." The chopper's side door flew open. Amara climbed aboard with Ellis and Mia. As they lifted off, Amara looked back one last time to see Denton's silhouette swallowed by flames and gunfire. The city lights of Washington glittered below them like embers. Ellis sat slumped, cradling Mia. Amara stared out the open door, Hale's hard drive clutched in her bloody hands. "Is it over?" Ellis asked, his voice hoarse. Amara's jaw tightened. Not yet. On the drive, she'd glimpsed something. Folders labeled Ouroboros Protocol and Phase 2. The coil wasn't dead. Not yet.
The world was burning. Cities across the globe flared on the news screens, each a hotspot of chaos as the coil's Phase 2 ignited. Automated drones patrolled streets. Black-suited operatives stormed government buildings. Leaders who had dared resist were arrested under fabricated charges or simply vanished overnight. It wasn't just an organization anymore. It was an empire. And Amara Blake was now its most wanted enemy. The safe house in Berlin was cold and silent, save for the faint hum of computers running in the corner. Ellis sat beside Mia's hospital cot, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. She was stable, but still unconscious. Amara stood in front of the cracked window, gazing at the city below. Protesters filled the streets, waving banners with a new symbol, a coiled serpent with its head severed, blood dripping from the cut. Her face was on their shirts, their posters, their holographic projections. They called her the Serpent Slayer. But Amara didn't feel like a hero. "We're out of time," Ellis said finally. "The coil's mobilizing worldwide. Denton's contacts in Europe have gone dark. And Hale's hard drive," he gestured at the computer. "We cracked it. Phase 2 isn't just about control. It's a digital lockdown. Banking, healthcare, infrastructure, they're hijacking everything." Amara turned, her voice calm but laced with steel. "Then we hit them everywhere, simultaneously." Ellis stared at her. "Everywhere? Amara, we're 3 people. They're half the world's governments." "Not just us," she said.
The world's ready to fight. They just need someone to lead. Hours later, Amara broadcast her message. Her image appeared on pirated feeds across every major network, even interrupting the Coil's own propaganda. My name is Amara Blake. You know me as the Serpent Slayer. I didn't ask for this war, but I won't run from it either. The Coil has infected our governments, our corporations, our homes. They want us to kneel. But I say, stand up, fight back. Wherever you are, resist. Sabotage their systems, protect your neighbors, take back your streets. The Coil thinks it can strangle the world into submission. Let's show them the world bites back. Across continents, sparks of rebellion ignited into wildfire. In Tokyo, masked hackers took over the Coil surveillance networks. In Nairobi, civilians overran a Coil supply depot, arming themselves with stolen weapons. In Sao Paulo, dock workers barricaded ports, cutting off critical Coil shipments. And in Washington, a faction of defecting FBI and CIA agents, calling themselves the Severed, prepared for a direct assault on the Coil's North American HQ. Amara and Ellis led the charge. Their target, Ouroboros Core, an underground complex beneath Geneva housing the AI system controlling the Coil's global operations. It was suicide, but there was no other choice. The insertion was brutal. Drones detected them within minutes. Automated turrets cut down half their rebel team before they breached the main access tunnels. Amara moved like a force of nature, her body battered but unbroken. She struck with precision, leading rebels through narrow corridors as alarms blared. Behind her, Ellis lay down suppressing fire, his jaw clenched against the pain of a gunshot wound to his shoulder. At the Core's heart, they found it. A server cluster glowing with serpentine neon, humming like a living creature. But standing before it was a man Amara thought she'd never see again. Victor Hale, alive. His chest bore fresh surgical scars, cybernetic implants gleaming where flesh had burned away. You didn't think it'd be that easy, did you? The Coil doesn't need a human leader anymore. I am the prototype, Ouroboros reborn. Amara raised her rifle. I should have made sure last time. Hale lunged with inhuman speed, metal claws raking across her chest plate. The force sent her crashing into a server rack. Sparks rained around them as Hale advanced. Ellis fired, but Hale swatted the bullets aside, his cybernetics sparking. You can't stop evolution, Blake, Hale roared. Amara rose, blood dripping from her lip. Evolution needs pruning. She hurled herself at Hale, grappling his arm and twisting with all her strength. Metal tore with a shriek as she ripped one cybernetic limb free. Hale howled, striking her with his remaining arm. Bums cracked, but Amara didn't let go. She jammed her combat knife into his neck, sparks and blood exploding in a gruesome spray. Hale staggered back, clutching the wound. Amara hit a console, triggering a cascade of failures in the core. You've lost, she said. Hale's laugh was wet and broken. So have you. This system runs on a failsafe. Kill it, and every Coil-controlled system goes down. Power grids, hospitals, airports. Millions will die. Amara froze. Ellis shouted from across the room. Amara, we don't have time. Her hand hovered over the kill switch. Hale's eyes gleamed even as his body failed. You want to be the hero? Save them. Let me live. Or pull that lever and be the monster. Amara looked at Ellis, then at the world map flashing on the cracked screen. Red lights marking every Coil stronghold. Her jaw tightened. Sometimes you have to be the monster to kill a bigger one. She pulled the switch. The core screamed as systems collapsed worldwide. Lights flickered, drones fell from skies, automatic weapons powered down. But chaos erupted as hospitals, grids, and transport networks went offline. Amara fell to her knees as Hale's body sparked and twitched before going still. Ellis helped her up, his face pale. "You did it. It's over." Amara shook her head. "No, it's just beginning." Outside, the world was in uproar. People were rising, seizing their freedom amid the chaos. In the streets, her face appeared on murals with a single word: reborn. Amara stepped into the light, battered but unbroken, as crowds began chanting her name. She was no longer just a fighter. She was a symbol. The Serpent Slayer, the woman who dared to sever the world's chains.
The sun rose over a fractured world. From the high cliffs of Santorini, Amara watched as the first light painted the Aegean Sea in molten gold. Below, fishing boats drifted aimlessly, and distant villages hummed with quiet activity, people trying to stitch normalcy back into their lives after weeks of chaos. Amara had chosen this place because it was far from the burning cities, far from the endless demands for her face, her voice, her presence, far from the weight of the title the world had given her, the Serpent Slayer. She ran her fingers over the comm device on the table. It blinked with dozens of missed messages. Ellis, the Severed, governments, resistance cells. They all wanted the same thing, a leader. But Amara wasn't sure she could be that. The world's news feeds scrolled silently on the laptop in front of her. Coil network down, hospitals and grids slowly restored by local engineers. Power vacuums spark regional conflicts as former Coil territories rebel. Amara Blake sighted in Greece, hero or fugitive. In some parts of the world, statues of her likeness were already being built. In others, bounty hunters whispered about the price still on her head from remnants of the Coil. She had freed billions from invisible chains. But freedom came with its own chaos. The door behind her creaked open. Ellis stepped in, his arm in a sling, dark stubble shadowing his jaw. His eyes softened as they found her. "You'd been up all night again." Amara didn't turn. "Feels wrong to sleep when the world's still burning." "It's always burning somewhere," Ellis said gently. "But now people have a chance to rebuild, because of you." "Because of us," she corrected. Ellis took a seat beside her, pulling out a folded piece of paper. "Letters from resistance leaders across 4 continents. They want a summit, to draft a new global charter, and they want you there, Amara, to stand as the face of this new movement." Amara stared at the paper, then back at the sunrise. "I didn't fight to rule, I fought to break chains. What if I'm not the person to lead them forward?" Ellis gave a faint smile. "Maybe you're not, but you gave them hope. That's worth more than any constitution or council. The people don't want perfect. They want someone who fought, bled, and survived for them." Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Mia appeared in the doorway, pale but walking on her own now. The bandage at her side peeked out from under her sweater. "You two really going to sit here debating while the world keeps calling?" she teased weakly. Amara rose, crossing to hug her gently. "You shouldn't be out of bed." Mia smirked. "You shouldn't be hiding on a Greek island either. But here we are." They sat together at the small table, the 3 of them silent for a long moment. Finally, Amara spoke. "If I step into that summit, if I take that stage, there's no going back. Every choice I make after will shape the future for generations. Every mistake could cost lives." Ellis met her gaze. "You're already shaping it, whether you want to or not." The sound of distant church bells carried on the breeze. Amara closed her eyes, breathing in the salt air. Memories flooded her, of blood and fire, of Hale's mocking smile, of Denton's last stand, of Mia's limp body in her arms. She remembered the children she'd seen in Nairobi, waving flags with her face on them. The old man in Sao Paulo who had thanked her for giving his grandchildren a future. She remembered why she fought. When she opened her eyes, they burned with quiet determination. "Call the summit," she said. "If they want a leader, I'll be there, but I won't be a queen or a general." Ellis nodded. "Then what?"
Amara looked out at the rising sun, the light cutting through clouds like a blade. A guardian, a protector, someone to make sure the world never falls into chains again. Mia smiled faintly. Sounds like a serpent slayer to me. 3 days later, the summit hall in Geneva overflowed with delegates, activists, and newly freed citizens. When Amara walked on stage, the crowd erupted in cheers and chants. Cameras flashed, voices rose, and millions watched live as the woman who had brought down the coil stepped forward, not as a tyrant or savior, but one of them. She raised a fist, and the hall fell silent. "We've won a great victory," she began, her voice strong. "But freedom isn't a destination. It's a fight we must keep choosing every single day. I am not here to rule you. I am here to remind you no one rules you. This is your world. Protect it, defend it, live free." The crowd erupted again, their chant deafening. "Amara! Amara! Amara!" Later, in the quiet of her quarters, Amara stood alone by the window. The world still burned in places, but now fires of rebellion burned alongside fires of destruction. And for the first time, she believed there was a chance for something better. When Ellis appeared in the doorway, she smiled faintly. "Ready for the next fight?" he asked. Amara's hand traced the scar on her knuckles. "Always." Together, they stepped into the night, for freedom had no finish line.